DualOperation Beta Manifesto. Welcome to the beginning. This is the first public beta of DualOperation. Everything you are about to experience exists for one reason: to demonstrate that two independent pointing devices can become two independent hands. For decades, games have assumed that one mouse represents one player, one cursor, one hand, one stream of intent. DualOperation rejects that assumption. Instead, every mouse becomes its own operator. Every cursor becomes its own decision. Every hand becomes mechanically independent. This beta is the foundation of that philosophy, not the finished game, the beginning of an entirely new control language. What the beta contains. This beta introduces the complete DualOperation control framework. At its core is a custom Unreal Engine input architecture that allows two physical mice to exist simultaneously, each maintaining independent position, input state, targeting logic, interaction, validation, statistics, progression, and gameplay responsibilities. This isn't split screen, it isn't simulated multiplayer. Both devices belong to one player, one brain, two hands. That's Chromatic Roulette, the first complete gameplay experience. Players independently control two colored cursors while solving increasingly complex color combinations. Primary colors combine into secondary colors. Yellow and blue become green. Red and blue become purple. Red and yellow become orange. Three color combinations become black. Every shot requires coordination between both hands. Speed, accuracy, planning. No existing shooter asks a player to think this way. Global career. Every completed target contributes toward a persistent career. Lifetime statistics, experience, accuracy, profiles, progression. The beta establishes the infrastructure that every future game mode will build upon. Nothing is isolated. Every session becomes part of your long-term operator history. Operator profiles. Multiple operator profiles allow players to build independent careers while preserving progression. Future updates will expand these into complete operator identities, equipment loadouts, and personalized configurations. Front-end framework. The entire front-end has been rebuilt into a modular system. Splash screens, brand presentation, settings, statistics, experience selection, independent game worlds. Each section has been designed as reusable modules rather than isolated menus, allowing entirely different games to coexist under one executable. Shaolin Temple. The second experience begins here. Rather than controlling two cursors across a screen, you control two hands on one weapon. Every movement is generated directly from independent mouse motion. The left hand is not an animation. The right hand is not scripted. They are continuously solved from two physical input devices. The current beta includes the foundations of this system, with the first playable Shaolin environments, weapon handling, menu flow, and interaction framework. This represents the transition from cursor coordination to full-body coordinated martial arts. What has been completed? This beta establishes the technological foundation required for everything that follows. Completed systems include independent dual mouse input architecture, dual cursor gameplay, chromatic validation system, color combination combat, persistent global career progression, operator profiles, experience selection framework, front-end navigation system, modular settings interface, independent game mode loading, third-person staff prototype, two-handed weapon control framework, dynamic weapon attachment architecture, modular weapon variants, Shaolin Temple experience framework, original audio implementation, career statistics and progression tracking. Every one of these systems has been engineered as reusable technology rather than one-off gameplay. What comes next? The beta demonstrates the foundation. The next phase expands that foundation into entirely new forms of interaction. Tactical first-person combat. A completely new operator experience is currently in development. Rather than controlling floating cursors, players will control independent hands inside a tactical first-person shooter. Each weapon is built around true ambidextrous manipulation. Upcoming weapons include tactical chainsaw, rotating barrel minigun platform, dual ballistic weapon systems, advanced shield mechanics, additional experimental operator equipment. These weapons are not simply cosmetic additions. Each one explores a different relationship between the left and right hand. Every weapon teaches a different control grammar. Expanded Shaolin Arsenal. The temple experience will continue expanding beyond the staff. Upcoming weapons include traditional flail, nunchaku, three-section staff, additional authentic Shaolin weapon disciplines. Each weapon introduces its own handling philosophy while preserving true independent hand control. Third-person dual manipulation. One of the largest upcoming milestones is the expansion of DualOperation into full third-person gameplay. Instead of moving a cursor, each mouse directly controls one arm. Every weapon becomes a physical object manipulated by two independent hands. The staff, the spear, the flail. Future weapons. Every movement is produced by the player rather than predetermined animation. This transforms combat from selecting attacks into physically operating weapons. Beyond weapons. The DualOperation architecture was never designed solely for combat. Independent hands allow completely new genres to emerge: engineering, puzzle solving, vehicle operation, construction, survival, medical simulation, industrial machinery. Anything requiring coordinated manipulation becomes possible. DualOperation is less a single game and more a new interaction platform. Why this matters: for decades, game mechanics have evolved while the primary control model has remained largely unchanged. One mouse, one cursor, one stream of intent. DualOperation asks a different question. What happens when both hands become first-class gameplay systems? Not additional buttons, not mirrored controls, not scripted animations, actual independent control. Every future mechanic grows from that single idea. The beta is not intended to showcase the maximum scale of DualOperation. It exists to prove that the control language works, that two independent devices can become two independent hands, that the player can learn an entirely new form of coordination. Everything beyond this point is expansion. More weapons, more worlds, more operator experiences, more ways to apply the same underlying philosophy. This is not the conclusion of DualOperation. It is version 1 of a new interaction grammar, the first public step toward a different way of playing games. Two cursors, two hands, one mind. If you've made it this far, thank you. This beta is not the destination, it's the foundation. DualOperation began with a simple question. What if every mouse became its own hand? Everything you've seen today exists as the first answer to that question. Every independent cursor, every bilateral weapon, every movement, every interaction was built to explore a different way of thinking about player input. There is still much to build. More weapons, more enemies, more worlds, more ideas that have never before been possible under traditional control systems. But every journey begins with a first step. This beta is ours. Thank you for being among the first to experience it. Welcome to the beginning. Welcome to DualOperation. Dual Stick Mode. Traditional games treat two handheld weapons as a single attack. DualOperation does not. In Dual Stick Mode, each stick is controlled by its own physical mouse. Your left hand is not synchronized with your right. It is independent. You can guard with one stick while striking with the other. Alternate rhythms, chain combinations, maintain pressure from two completely separate lines of attack. Because every movement originates from a different device, your hands are no longer animations playing together. They become two individual operators working toward the same objective. This creates a combat system that feels less like pressing attack and more like performing a martial art. The beta focuses on authentic Shaolin stick fundamentals: distance, timing, control, flow. As additional Shaolin weapon disciplines are introduced, every technique will continue to follow the same philosophy. Two hands, two operators, one mind. This is not dual wielding, this is independent bilateral control. Welcome to Dual Stick Mode. Staff Mode. Traditional games reduce staff combat to a sequence of predetermined animations. DualOperation does not. In Staff Mode, two independent mice control two independent hands on a single weapon. Each hand maintains its own position, its own pressure, its own intent. Move both hands together to translate the staff across your guard. Separate them to widen your grip. Bring them together to tighten your control. Lead with one hand to pivot the weapon around the other. Cross your hands to rotate the staff and reverse its orientation. The result is not a collection of canned attacks. It is a physical control system. Broad lateral movement becomes a sweeping strike. Forward pressure from both hands becomes a thrust. Opposing movement creates a defensive brace. Every technique emerges from how the two operators cooperate. Because the staff is controlled from both ends of the grip, neither hand is merely following an animation. One hand can guide, the other can reinforce. One can redirect the weapon while the other establishes its center. This transforms the staff from a static object into a continuously adjustable line of force. The beta focuses on the fundamentals of Shaolin staff control: grip, leverage, reach, rotation, structure. You are not selecting a staff attack. You are positioning the weapon and creating the attack yourself. 2 hands, 2 operators, 1 weapon. This is not an animation system. This is bilateral weapon control. Welcome to Staff Mode. Spear Mode. For thousands of years, the spear has been one of humanity's most effective weapons, not because it was complicated, but because it rewarded precision. Dual operation brings that philosophy into independent bilateral control. In spear mode, your dominant hand controls the spear. Your offhand controls the shield. Each is driven by its own physical mouse. Each responds independently. Advance the spear while holding your shield in guard. Deflect an incoming strike before immediately extending into a thrust. Control distance. Protect your center. Create your own openings. Because your shield and spear are never locked together, offense and defense become simultaneous decisions. You are no longer waiting for an animation to finish before you can react. Every block, every adjustment, every thrust exists as its own deliberate action. The spear rewards discipline over aggression. A single, well-placed thrust is often more valuable than a dozen reckless swings. The shield provides structure. The spear delivers reach. Together, they become one of history's most balanced fighting systems. The beta introduces the foundations of authentic Shaolin spear combat: guard, distance, timing, precision, control. As additional mechanics are introduced, the same philosophy will remain. Every weapon should feel like it is being physically operated, not mechanically activated. 2 hands, 2 operators, 1 battlefield. This is not point-and-click combat. This is independent bilateral weapon control. Welcome to Spear Mode. Morningstar Mode power alone has never won a battle. Control does. In Morningstar Mode, your dominant hand commands the weapon. Your offhand commands the shield. Each is controlled by its own physical mouse. Each operates independently. The shield establishes your defense. The Morningstar delivers decisive force. Raise your shield to absorb an attack. Create an opening. Then answer with a crushing swing. Every movement demands timing, momentum, commitment. Unlike a straight weapon, the Morningstar rewards deliberate motion. A careless strike leaves you exposed. A disciplined strike carries overwhelming force. Because your shield and weapon are controlled independently, defense never pauses while offense begins. You can maintain your guard, adjust your position, then commit to the moment you choose. Every block, every feint, every swing exists because you created it, not because an animation selected it for you. The beta introduces the foundations of Shield and Morningstar combat: defense, momentum, timing, impact, control. As additional Shaolin weapon disciplines are introduced, every system will continue to follow the same philosophy. Weapons should behave as extensions of your own hands, not as buttons bound to preset attacks. 2 hands, 2 operators, 1 purpose. This is not animation-driven combat. This is independent bilateral weapon control. Welcome to Morningstar Mode. What you've seen today is only the beginning. Dual operation is more than a game. It is the first public demonstration of a new way to think about player input. A system where every mouse becomes its own operator, every cursor becomes its own decision, every hand becomes mechanically independent. The beta is our foundation. The framework is modular. The weapons will continue to grow. The worlds will continue to expand. And the possibilities will continue to evolve alongside them. Soon, you'll be able to experience the beta for yourself, and developers will be able to build upon the same technology through the Dual Operation Unreal Engine template. Whether you come to play or to create, you're invited to help explore what independent bilateral control can become. Thank you for watching. Thank you for believing in this idea. Welcome to the beginning. Welcome to Dual Operation.